Welcome to Bona Fide Dialogues with Christina Kueppers. Explore our three segments: legal tech, creativity, and paradigms and paradoxes.
Connect genuinely, broaden your perspective, and share your passion.
Fabrice is a French ballet dancer and model who performed as a lead dancer with the Joffrey Ballet in Chicago. Mr. Calmels has received numerous awards and accolades during his career, including establishing a Guinness World Record for tallest ballet dancer in the world.
I am Fabrice Calmels, and I was born and raised in France in the world of ballet. I started dancing when I was 4.5 years old, and I made my whole career out of it. I'm now 42 years old. How I started to do ballet, how and why. Well, my sister used to take ballet when she was young, and I used to attend her ballet classes. And the school where she was attending didn't have any boys, so basically I was dragged into the classroom because they wanted to have a boy, and I was there. So I started taking ballet. Eventually, my sister kind of moved away from ballet, and I continued because my teacher saw that I had talent in ballet and signed me up for the Paris Opera Ballet School program, which is a government-funded school in France, in Paris, basically, which trains young kids to become professional ballet dancer. And I was able to get in. My parents, who were financially unstable and kind of poor, decided that it was the path I was going to take. Since the government was paying for most of my education, it was a great opportunity for me because it was a prestigious school, and for them financially as well. So I stayed in the Paris Opera program for over 6 years until I was 18. And something kind of unusual happened. I was a normal-sized kid, and all of a sudden I started growing really rapidly.
At age 11, Fabrice entered the prestigious 300-year-old Paris Opera Ballet School under the direction of Claude Bessy.
I was not in love with ballet at first, just because it was never truly my decision. It was kind of circumstance. It was the fact that he would pay for my education, and my parents needed me to stay here. It was a very nice, reputable school, prestigious. So they're like, you got to stay here. You got to stay here. This is safe for you. But because it was a boarding school, because it was pulling me away from my family, it was really difficult for me as a young child. I was like too young. I was like 12, 13. It was too tough. I felt like my family were growing separately of me. I was seeing them only one day per week, every weekend. Like I would come in on Friday and then return on Sunday. So it was very, very hard. And I was so sad. It was difficult for me. But then when I became older and I became a teenager, around like 14, 15, I started, become really good at it. And so like everything, when you become good at something, you start loving it.
Yeah, you start loving it, yeah.
That's where it started. So was it from the beginning a love story? No, it was not a love story at the beginning. A lot of people think like, oh, sometimes you have to decide for yourself. Sometimes you have to be pushed in a direction.
That's true.
And then you figure out your footsteps. Yeah, so I didn't love ballet right away. It kind of grew on me with the skill that I was growing. Like I ended up loving it step by step. And when I turned 16, 17, I started growing rapidly, about taking 1.5 inches every month, which was actually very difficult for multiple reasons. Physically, because it was putting so much stress on my body. It was really painful. My bones used to grow so quickly that my tendon and ligament was having a hard time following through. So I had a special medical following. The doctor did give me like different zinc 2000, some sort of oil, orange oil. It was really gross, but it will help you with basically the muscle, to relax the muscle, to help them extend as fast as the bone would extend. And it was painful this way, and it was also painful mentally because I was finally getting into my rhythm as a young student and getting good at it. And all of a sudden I was growing so fast that it was throwing everything off. All the technique, all the physical, like knowledge that I had was like throwing out of the window because my proportions were completely off. My technique, my center of gravity was always changed. So it was basically somewhat regressing in my technique, my ballet technique. And this was actually seen by the instructor, and they were very concerned because at the Paris Opera Ballet School where I was, every year you had to qualify to go to the next class level. And basically losing that technique was was really difficult because challenging, because I could be eliminated at any time. And so that was really, really difficult. But I did with it. Eventually, I started slowing down within my growth. It was the last level at the Paris Opera School, and but either way, it didn't matter because I was too tall. I was already 6'6". It was really, really tall, and
but did you have a conversation with your parents about it, or what did you think at that moment? It seems like at that moment, when you were 17, right? 16, 17, 18, you already felt that you're good at it. That's something that you want to pursue as your career. And here, you start growing, rapidly growing. So did you have any conversation with your parents about it? Did you think, oh, maybe it's not the right path for me? Maybe I should look into some other careers, or it never went through your mind?
My parents were non-dancer, ballet dancers. They're artists, but they're not dancers. So they didn't know. They didn't know what to do or where to go. And, it was just at that moment where you feel a little bit, for me, I felt a little bit betrayal because I felt that I was all of a sudden being judged on something that was out of my control. It was not about my ability to dance or my ability to do the right thing. It was simply
you did everything you're supposed to do year after year.
After years, all of a sudden,
it felt not fair.
Well, thank you very much, but unfortunately, you're too tall, and it's like, well, what do you want me to do? Cut my legs off? It's really hard. I felt betrayal, by the community, and I sacrificed all these years, to go down that path.
6'6.63 inches, 199.73 centimeters.
The mentality back then, especially in ballet, and I felt also it is, unfortunately, the downfall of ballet in general, because you have a lot of people in charge of this company, decision maker, who are former dancers. And so they try to mirror what they have learned all along. They don't think outside the box, or maybe of other possibility. They just want to perpetuate something they've learned all along and it worked. Why changing?
And people are generally afraid of change.
Correct. People in general are always very comfortable with what they've always known, which is the major problem in our society. It's just like they sit in chairs where they talk about change. It sounds great, but the execution is not there, because it takes a very special mind to visualize, to be an artist. It takes a very special mind to take risks, to put themselves out there. People don't like to do that. They like to perpetuate things.
They want to stay in their comfort zone.
Correct. Antiquated behaviors, antiquated things. And so the Paris Opera didn't choose. They chose to not go with me because I was too tall, because they saw that if I would have gone into the company, I would have basically become stagnant within the ranks of the company. Because even though you're in a company at the Paris Opera, you still depend on ranks. There's about six stagiaire, which is basically apprentice. There is quadrille, coryphée, sujet, premier danseur, and then principal dancer. That's 6 years. If you're very fortunate enough to be able to be and good enough without injury to be able to be promoted to the next level. So that's 6 years to become a principal dancer, to be alone on stage and basically justify your height. All these other years, you have to be with the ensemble, and the Paris Opera is notorious to have perfect lines and not looking outside that structure. So
yeah, but that didn't stop you, right? So what did you do?
Yeah, the director back then of the Paris Opera school program was Claude Bessy, and Claude Bessy was a very wonderful director, also thinking always outside the box. Her career was already, she was very unique. Her mentor was Lifar, and Lifar saw her as the muse, and her body was already different. So she understood that. She understood being different. She understood this. And while she didn't have all the answers, she advised me on going to the United States and try over there, where there's no such thing as these ranks and, rules, like if you're good, you're good. And that is a possibility. So I took a flight and went to the United States. Didn't speak much of the language, but
you have perfect English now. So when did you come to the United States?
It was 1999, I think. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, a very long time ago. I was young and very naive, being in the boarding school for so long, you were kind of cut outside the world.
You're a little bubble. Yeah.
It was a little bubble. The Paris Opera School was literally a bubble. The building is actually made in such a way that you never leave it. You're always inside. You go from the boarding where you sleep, the dorm rooms, directly to the cantina, directly to the school. You never leave. It's just like a star, and you're just in the building constantly.
And anyway, even though you attended boarding school, it seems like you had very close relationship with your family. It seems like you have a lot of love in your heart for your family.
Yeah, they don't run the floor. I mean, my mother and my father been going through so much financial struggle. They always put us ahead, and they were tough. Don't get me wrong, it was not like easy with them. My mother especially was a really tough, very, very hard woman, and but she always put us front. It was always about the success of our children and go ahead. So she did anything in her power, working several jobs to be able to provide, and that is important. So yes, I appreciate that. I respect that greatly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and even though when I was in the United States, it was just very difficult, even more, because going from a boarding school and then away from my family to even further away.
Yeah, and there were no Zoom, no Skype, no video conference. Yeah, you can just write a letter, handwrite your letters.
That's right. The telecommunication back then were costly. To place a phone call to friends back then from the United States, it was like $50.
I know. I remember buying phone cards, calling my parents.
No, phone cards is like, wow, it's been a minute, huh? It's I've been to United. So I flew.
So you came to the United States, and you don't have anybody in this country, no relatives, maybe some friends, or nobody?
Yeah, so no, nobody, and it was really me trying to figure it out. I knew that the Rock School in Philadelphia was a bridge for the Paris Opera. They would at time request students to come into Philadelphia for summer intensive, etc. I think they were running their marketing like that way, because they had a lot of international dancers coming into their school, which give them a beautiful image for the school. So they were doing these programs, and I reconnected with them, and they allowed me to stay for a year, which was actually very, very good. It was actually a turning point because the director back then were Bo and Stephanie Spassoff, and they were just wonderful, always so connected with the rest of the company in the United States. So they knew what to do with the students, and they allowed me to stay. I was on a stipend. They figured out my housing, stuff like that, and they allowed me to be here to learn the language, learn also the American dance technique, because coming from the French school, it's still a step away from the American ballet technique, which are more Balanchine influence, Russian influence too as well, and sometimes mixed, because a lot of foreign dancer.
Are you saying that it's more advanced here, or just different?
It's very different.
Harder?
I would say harder is not really kind of the adjective. It's different. It's different. Yeah, it's different. The way the companies are run is very different. The way the dancers are, it's very different. I feel like in Europe, for example, everything in, for example, France, they come from the Paris Opera or school or teacher coming from that same core of school. While, you know, in America, you've people from Italy, people from Japan, people from Korea. So it's like a melting pot.
Yeah, that's what makes it wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a melting pot of techniques, of knowledge. So it's different. It's really different. But going back to my first step in the United States, I was with the rock school. They allowed me to stay there for a year. And then I auditioned to different company, New York City Ballet, San Francisco, etc. And I was able to acquire the Boston Ballet, which I stayed 1 year at the Boston Ballet under the BB2 program, which is basically the pre-professionals working with the company, consider a company member, but still under the apprentice program. And then after that, I decided to move away from Boston and explore more of America in a different company. I felt Boston was a very difficult town to be in, very expensive. I didn't like it that much. I felt like it was not ideal for me. And I tried to the Greyhound, went all over and make a plan of which company I wanted to audition for, and just went each one of them across the country using a Greyhound, literally spending like I don't know, like days in Greyhounds, going across country and back. And I auditioned, and I auditioned for the Joffrey in New York and got the contract out of like hundreds of like participants. And I joined the Joffrey. It was actually
I like that you're such a planner, you know, you sit down.
You have to.
You had your strategy, right? You were very young.
Yeah, I was. I felt like
very motivated.
I felt like it was always like, you break through. You know, like I think people are so always scared of the unknown, and I was scared at first. You know.
Yeah, but you still do it.
Yeah,
you're scared, but you do it. Yeah.
I had fear my first time when I took the plane from Paris to America, and I knew it was not a return ticket. You know, when you're in that plane, you're like thinking like, I'm going somewhere, I have no clue where.
No plan B. No plan B. That's what I'm doing.
So yeah, but this time after a couple of years, I was like fearless. I was young and fearless. I was just like, I don't care. I would sleep under the bridge, you know, like I didn't care. I had to go and figure out my way.
Take your chance. Yes, that's the time.
Yeah. So it was actually the wake of 9/11. So even though I got a contract with the Joffrey, 9/11 happened that year, and so I was not able to return to Chicago, where the Joffrey Ballet reside. And I stayed in Paris for a year, working at a cabaret called the Lido to make money. And then I joined the Joffrey Ballet the following year when things settled down a little bit after all the chaos of 9/11.
In 2004, and aged 23, Fabrice became a lead dancer at the Joffrey Ballet, notably through his principal role as Apollo. In 2009, he performed the title role in the Joffrey Ballet's premiere of La Lubovich's Othello, which he reprised in the spring of 2013.
Joffrey for 18 years, so it's been the company that gave me everything, yeah. The company was directed by Arpino, Gerald Arpino. Gerald Arpino was actually one of the founder of the Joffrey Ballet. He was Robert Joffrey and Gerald Arpino. They were both they made the Joffrey Ballet what they are today, what the Joffrey Ballet is today, the name of, the groundbreaking company, the first company to dance in Russia, the first company to dance in the White House, the first company to have a Broadway show, the first company to dance in, using pop music, the first company to use digital, it was always like something the Joffrey was up to, one of the biggest repertoire of dance ever. And Arpino knew what to do with me. So he was always placing me in the right piece of dance and creating around me, which was great. And I was able to grow, as an artist, as a dancer, into the company. But again,
was it challenging at times?
Is that the American dancing is very fast. I think there's a very athletic aspect of ballet that you don't find, so much in France or in Russia or on the east side of the world. The ballet that Arpino had was really fast, very intense, and very difficult when it comes to partnering. He loved those ballerinas to fly, and the lifts were super difficult. It was like deadlift here, here. So, yes, it was
very physically demanding. Okay.
Very demanding. And also he was.
How many hours a day did you have to practice?
Well, the regular day was like probably 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's like a straight 9 hours with like an hour break for lunch. But mostly you would dance 9 hours, You would not, it's not like a regular job. You enter here, you sit on your desk, and here we go. Start the body.
I know.
You prepare, you warm up, you slow down. And so you would easy do 9 hours, easy all the time on a regular, especially when you start in your company. You would be every single hour. So that was already the first one. It's physically so difficult, challenging to just be like at the top and constantly perform, and throughout the year at the highest level of physical performance. So that is already the thing that was the biggest challenge mentally, because again, you're by yourself. There's a disconnection, there's a language barrier, culture barrier as well with the other, member of the company. So you try to fit in. You make friends, etc. But there's always that weird discomfort because it's still not, home. It's like, I was still very young into it. I joined the job in 2002. We're talking about the early years that I got in the United States. So mentally, you still feel the disconnection with your surrounding and, where you are. It's not home, right? So that's always like the mental challenge. Of course, you have the physical comes with a mental element to it, but I think the personal element to it was like,
Absolutely.
It's not home. Yeah. It's like it's there, but it's fun, but it's like you can feel like a disconnection somewhat. It's not part of you. So yeah, it was there, and like being away also from family. You start, like you're in the United States, you try to find time. Your parents, like also the season, as a dancer, is really off the normal season. You work exactly on the times that everybody's on break, because this is where people want to go out and watch a ballet or watch a performance. So during the holidays,
in your young, very young years, then everyone went out. You were working every evening.
Yeah, that's right. Early on. I felt like I always skipped my childhood in some way because, joining the Paris Opera School early on, like I was 11, 12 years old. You don't do the regular kids do, so you become an adult really quickly.
And
yeah,
then you
it's
came
always,
here. Yeah, also you have to be independent and responsible.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Independent, responsible, adult, pay your bill, find your apartment, you know.
So you
do
love
small projects.
Chicago and you love that work and you spent so many years and made
Mhm,
so many
mhm.
friends. But
Yeah.
then what happened?
You know, I feel like while I was at the Joffrey, you know, and under Arpino, it was a certain era, and I lived that. I continued Arpino transition. We had two assistant artistic director that joined in that handled the transition to the new artistic director, which became Ashley Weeder. And Ashley Weeder became a new also vision for the whole company, which was great. And, you know, I mean, new ballet, new production, upgraded, you know, ballet, you know, different vision and very challenging on its own. Comes with, you know, the tears, the sweat, you know, the blood and all the things, you know, tons of stress, tons of challenges, of course, with new production, crazy schedule, you know, things that we try to achieve to change things, you know. So, but I felt that I was at the point where I knew every single thing that could come at me, you know, in that world. I have explored that. And I remember I had many injuries, and I had an injuries in my back, which put me in a certain place at that time. It was like where I have to think about how now I'm going to handle myself for the next year. Am I going to continue doing what I do? And I'm going to have to revisit what I am and what I do.
Yeah.
And then my father came to visit me, and he was like here, and I haven't seen him in a long time, and we sat down, we did wonderful things. It was great to see him finally. And he was telling him about this. He was like, he said, always do what you have in mind. Don't postpone things that you might want to achieve in your life, because we always put or find excuses of why not to do them. And I was like, what else do you want to do? It's like, you know, I was thinking about, you know, going and trying to do the commercial route, you know, being on TV and trying Hollywood and trying to do my own business. So,
but you already started modeling at that time, right?
Yeah, modeling, but it still falls into, you know, you're the tool here. You know, you come, there's a job for you. You go over there, your sister, you get paid, and you walk home. Blah blah.
Yeah.
But
that doesn't give you stability in life and consistency.
That's right. And what I was more thinking of, it's like creating something, right? Like, do TV, fine, like it still falls under the performance, but also having my own business, building something for me, like, right? Not like just going to a company. I wanted to see what I was outside the performer.
Yeah.
And I decided to go to Los Angeles for that, because I knew Los Angeles was the hardest
place. Yeah.
Los Angeles is such a tough place, you know, in general. I heard so many times people trying to make it through as a ballet company and not succeeding, doing really poorly, and then giving up after a couple of years of ballet. And I just felt like I wanted to try, at least to know and say, I've done it.
Los Angeles, new beginning, new goals.
So you moved to Los Angeles and pandemic started.
Yeah, the pandemic started, and it was really interesting because I feel like he allowed me, because of the pandemic, to really discover Los Angeles on my own, see what, you know, the whole town was about, you know, structurally, you know, like the area, the neighborhoods, etc., to get familiar with it. And funny enough is that because everybody was at home, you would call someone from Los Angeles, you would pick up the phone. Usually people in Los Angeles never pick up the phone, but they did pick up the phone this time because it was during pandemic. So everybody was able to be reached and you'd be able to talk to, etc. So I was able to figure it out. And I opened a space in downtown Los Angeles near the Art District. And I started doing different things and production, music video from NXS. Did another one, The Big Leap from Fox. I did an independent movie, which I literally premiered about like a couple of weeks ago. Different things, I did a comedy too as well, another independent short film comedy. So tons of things, and it's been fun. Very challenging, but fine. Definitely the most challenging was the space that I built to get my ground.
So you started your own studio, right?
Yeah, it's like a studio for me because I knew that I needed to still work on my craft.
Yeah.
But also as well for my teaching private, I love to teach the people that wants to learn, who are serious about it and wants to get something in a ballet.
Yeah, and you're teaching children and adults, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to train and wants to really get something, people with goals, that's what I'm interested in. If you have that drive and goals, say, I want to do that, I want to achieve these, or I want to lose weight, or I want to be in this company, or I want to be in that school, then
I just enjoy dancing, right?
That's right. But I think it's important to have a goal. Sometimes people I want it to be very cautious of my time and be respectful of the time that I have and give it to the people that really wanted to do something with their time. So it's not really a choice. It's kind of like my space where I can train myself and train others, but in the same time it's massive. And so it has the ability to do other creative things. We had people just utilizing the space for an art gallery, people for a dance battle, for event, for marketing event, different things. But whoever wants to create something of their own there, is welcome, and that's it. So it's been good. It's been good so far. It was tough at first, but now it's finally, the wheel is catching, and
it seems to me that the parents take their children to dance class while they're little, and then the kids become adults. There's such a small percentage of adults continue dancing, but dance is so good for you. I don't know, it can improve your health and your mental health, and there's so many good things about dance. What are the benefits of dance?
I think that there's a gazillion thing beneficial. Right? First of all, it's kind of like one of the most, I would say, vibrant way of working out. Why I say vibrant? It's because I do think that there's more than just the physical. There's a spiritual, there's a mental, that is working with it. There's something, you can go work out, you move your muscle, but moving
lifts you up, right? You feel something with music and your body.
That's right. People are so kind of two-dimensional when it comes to workout, and they're I can see there's still people out there do their new method to work out, and there's people that do jump around and do weird things, it's I get a new way of working out. Look at me pulling a band here, throwing balls on the wall. But ultimately, dance is very unique because you move your body. You first of all are matching two hard things, which is the muscle strength with elasticity. When you dance, you want to be flexible, so you have to stretch. You want the best out of that muscle, but we understand that a muscle flexible is not something that has that fast.
And you're not focusing on one part of your body, right?
That's right, in one part of the body.
Every part of your body is involved. Of course, depends on the dance.
That's right. And put that attention to in such a way, your nervous system, you do things that are very hard in coordination, demands a lot of reflection. So your brain is firing faster than just running,
Exactly.
Your whole life.
Yeah.
It's you can run faster than someone else, but it doesn't require much more than just the performance aspect of pushing your boundaries. But having, ballet, for example, demands, first of all, to utilize a very different range of muscle, which one are not towards one another, like the primary muscle, like your glutes, your quads, stuff like that. You have the turnout rotation muscle, which are fairly weak, and they're challenged. And you have to make this coordination going on. So there's a lot going on within the movement itself that puts your brain in challenges. But also there's a neural element to it with, music and extend out the connection with the visual, the sound, etc. With so to me it's like ultimate, like
I believe that dance should be included in general education.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. There's a very interesting theory, multiple intelligence theory. So what this theory tells us that people have different types of intelligence: logical, mathematics intelligence, musical, linguistics. So there are 8 different types of intelligence. But the problem is that everywhere in the world, we're focusing only on cognitive intelligence. And there's such a minimum part of it dedicated to music, art, dance. I don't think maybe theater, but it's a small percentage. So I think it's very important for children. If children will start their day, in the morning with a dance, maybe they'll do better in their math class, right?
Correct. Well, it's all about brain plasticity. It's the brain has different, it's like a country, it's got different part of the brain that does different functions. But be able to operate it and make them, all these different parts, very constantly challenged and put at stress and constantly reworked, definitely the overall of your entire day. So absolutely, I do believe that it is necessary, but
especially outdoors, right? If they take those more breaks to move and dance, like you said, just doing exercise, it's one thing, but then you dance, you feel happy. I don't know, there's something about dance that lifts you up so much. Yeah, absolutely. In the United States, there's not a lot of money into, ballet. The ballet, they see it as like, you do this as a child, but there's no career out of that because there's no money. America is very driven within, money. So sports is very highlighted. Everything like that is very highlighted, but they don't really see that as a path for any one of their children because of the lack of resources and finances. So it's quite understandable. And we don't want everyone to be a software engineer. So we need, people who are creative. We need artists and dancers and musicians, and we want them to be happy and be able to make money and live, and provide for their families. So something needs to change in our society.
Yeah. Well, like it's quite hard, and you're right. Something needs to change where, we need to focus more on how to make ourselves better. But unfortunately, capitalism is making everybody going a certain route because there's obviously routes who are also made already as an example of successful path for capitalism. And so
I think bringing more attention to arts and dance.
But as long as people don't see the financial value of it, I think it's always going to trail behind and not be as successful, because people, when they don't see where, they in a world, everybody relay money and with success, and so no money.
There's always value in entertainment, but I think we change as humans, what we find fun or interesting or exciting, right? So just bringing attention, for example, to ballet and make it maybe somehow more modern and a little bit different and unique. Maybe that would help. Bringing more attention, advertising, yes. That's why we're talking about it.
Well, we'll see. I think it's quite difficult right now. We're going through a transition. I would love to see ballet shine, but to ultimately, I am afraid that technology has devoured, creativity. in an organic way. You know, I think he has kind of forced. It's not creativity because people like say, yeah, but you know, social media. But I feel like it's curated for like social media, right? Like, for example, the people on social media, like the dancers on social media, they're great. They look great on these videos and stuff like that. But when you see them live, it's quite not effective. And so, like, I feel like, yeah, there's a certain creativity that is made on social media, but it's definitely not what ideally we should be doing as humans for true, you know.
Yeah, it should. This modern art should not replace what we had before. Yeah,
that's right. It should not be that.
We still need to, like, even you look at the architecture, you travel to Europe, look at these beautiful buildings, you go to art museum, and what happens now? It doesn't happen anymore, right? There may be different type of creativity. Yes, there's some digital art, you know, memes right now is creativity. That's what people are excited about. But how do we bring it back? You know, that excitement about beauty, about art and ballet and theater, and bring more people. There are many, many people who love it, but we want more people to love it, and more kids go to your studio or many other studios all over the country, and not just for a couple of years, but actually, like you said, take it seriously, take it to the next level, you know, challenge yourself and actually be able to make a career out of it, not just some class for fun, right? Which is fine too.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to really see what it is. I think we're going through a transition of technology even bigger. I think people, the world is much more attached to technology than we think it is. It becomes a part of us. Cell phones have become a part of us. I mean, like, rewind 10 years. At what point we were utilizing that device as much as it's like it's a part of us. We are here for time. We're here for content. We're here for messaging. We're here. We're. I feel like we're cyborg in some ways.
And
you know, we are.
It's good and it's bad. You know, I think it's up to us to, you know, take advantage of it, but don't let it harm us in our lives.
That's right. That's right. I think ultimately it is still a foreign, not unnatural way. Like, you depend on something that is not part of you. Like, so it is unhealthy in some ways. Like, you know, like, if you cannot reclaim your independence, this is where it becomes problematic. You know, where you depend so much on something that you cannot live without. Like, that's called addictions.
Yes, it is addiction, digital addiction.
It really is. It really is. And it's becoming more and more a way of seeing things. And obviously what I said, and ultimately the ultimate danger of that is, like, these devices are not allowing you to think for yourself. They're so part of you that they become the way you think, the way you live, and the way you see things. And unfortunately, you know, like I always say to someone, every time there's like people are not really hateful with each other. They do because they don't understand each other, and they're somewhat afraid of what they don't know about each other, right? And most of the conflicts that happen is
on social media, right? On social media, you're talking, or outside?
No, I'm talking in general. In general, there's always a third person that is in between. Like, if you look at, for example, like, to simple things like, you know, when you're at home, you have your child, everything is fine. You know, you grow, and then he goes to school, and he gets influenced by a third party that gets to talk to him, think differently than what is in natural setup. Then things start become problematic with parents, you know, where the child starts rebelling itself. I feel like the cell phone is like that version. That little person is constantly talking in your ears, you know, where you should be being your own circles, really figured out with your people like what to do, and Finna, you had that third voice as always.
Yeah, there's no red button that we can push and stop and get rid of it. It's already unstoppable machine. So now it's a matter of us navigating it. And especially, like you said, most importantly, to teach our children how to do it. You know, we grew up in different time, right? Without the internet, or maybe then just the beginning wasn't as dangerous place. And but there are many benefits. There's so much information, good information. You can learn so many things, and you know.
That's correct. But in the same times, for example, like people need to really understand that is that there is a system to education. It's not just simply like what it is, like, oh, there's a lot of information and it's for you to swallow. Like, I'm not going to expose my 2-year-old to certain type of content because maybe it's too advanced, or maybe it's too harsh and you won't understand, or maybe it's going to hurt that child. There's a process.
2-year-old shouldn't be exposed to the internet at all.
That's correct. And so when you have such amount of content at all time, and so it
doesn't make sense. Yeah, it has to be organized somehow and find the right information. Make sure it's not false. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. It's not even the false or right information. It's like there is a form of, people say the freedom, but they also don't understand that in freedom there's rules, right? No. Like, there's rules for what? For society to be able to coexist together. Like, freedom is not like I can do whatever I want at all time and disrespect my person here. Like, I can be a crazy person and my choice is to, do crazy things burning. No, there's rules, you follow the lights. That's right, boundaries, you stop at the red light because some other car will go through. And, if you wanted to be free to do whatever you want, you would go through the red light. No, because you would have damaged something else. So what I'm trying to say is, like, within freedom, there's rules and orders. And you have to understand that, like, as humans and kids, the brain absorbs everything. In a matter, it's that there's a very prime time when your children, when they're really young,
first 5 years, 6 years of their lives.
Absolutely. And we're overlooking like it's like a normal thing, because we are so far and so deep into chaos. And I really use this adjective, like they say, chaos, that we're deciding to go through with it, and it's not right, because we have actually responsibility over youth to make sure that they're protected as well. And we have give up on that through social media, through money, through all the things that we have let this go too far. And it's affecting our society in such a way. The problem we're seeing today is everybody completely disconnected, hurt, chaos, crimes.
It's attached to their phones, spend too much time on the internet and social media.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's influenced by something. The crime is influenced by something. The chaos is influenced by something. People here. And I remember vividly when because we were, like, I was at this point in the era where I was young enough to learn a life without internet and grew like this. I remember vividly my grandfather telling me, when I was a kid, he was like, the music started being pop and explicit lyric music was like swearing and talking about thug's life and crime and glorifying crimes. And he was like, what are you listening to? Like, you won't affect us. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. I know the difference. But my grandfather was right. Music back then in the 80s and 70s was never like, they understood that it was because it was fun. It was world.
Can't hear you.
I think people accepted that he had a responsibility to the message to be delivered to be in some kind of curated way, to not influence, right, in some way. And I feel like people will say it as a form of control, but it's not control. It was a positive message, I would say. The culture, even though we had our problems, was the content that was distributed to us was curated in such a way to kind of like guide us in the right direction, I'd say, in some way. It was not about like talking about crime things. Music is these days is completely trash. Everything is like swearing, talking about very evil or a sexual thing, and it's just like constantly messing up our children in some ways to think that is normal. You know, like also the shootings being crazier than ever. Like crimes always existed, but the shooting gone river, like the video games now. I used to play Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario, like chasing mushrooms and going through like switch pipes. You know, now these days
these games are very violent, and they lose the understanding where's the reality and where's the virtual world.
Correct. And people
and technology can be great thing, you know, it can be used for a good cause, but now I think I agree, it's overwhelmingly negative thing, especially for children.
Absolutely. The young generation see it as the success because it's widely accepted, it's cool and fun. They see it as the way that it's glorified. They see it as a successful way, like, you know, like I'm not gonna say, but like sometimes, like especially music, you see all these like celebrity singers that talk about these things to do and calling names and sort of stuff like that, and they say that's what I want to be like because it's success. They're rich, they have the future, they're powerful, and that's what I need to replicate. And that's a terrible way. People are completely disconnected. It's like the same thing too. I was watching 60 Minutes, and they were like talking about the distributions of like what Chinese TikTok compared to the American TikTok. And the Chinese TikTok was basically curated for their kids with a limited amount of time you can spend on the social platform. And what the content is very educative about space exploration, knowledgeable thing, and all our TikTok in the United States is all about like silly
wild,
things.
Wild. It's just there's no limits there. There should be. And they can do it technologically. They can build it in.
Yeah, absolutely. To a point
it could be built by design, yes. But because it's Chinese company,
that's right.
TikTok, it's a different subject because I think it's a lot of threats. So I can't even imagine China having access to all our data and information.
I don't have TikTok.
Similar platform.
I don't have TikTok.
People love it so much.
Yeah, I don't have TikTok, but like I can see the true danger to it. But he really explained something. It's like these social media has a large influence, and they said when you ask a kid what they want to be, they want to be doctors and astronauts. That's the first thing, actually, astronauts. And when you look in America,
very cool,
influencers. It's like, okay, you're an influencer, I guess.
But then on the other hand, people would say, look how everyone is creative. You know, they're creating their own videos. They're making some, I don't know, they have this new ideas. What are they dancing? What else they're doing in their TikTok videos?
Yeah, dancing.
Some funny videos. I don't know. So there's creativity, right? It's different type of creativity. Same thing, for example, with the ability to publish your book, self-publish. So there are some things that give opportunity for people to be more creative in some way, especially for authors, for example. If somebody wants to write a book about their life or their family or just some story, you know, they always wanted to write and they never had an opportunity to publish their book. And now it's given. So there are some ways to, you know, use technology and become more creative.
I taught for a very long time, and you know, I've always been surrounded by children, and for me it's been a very big important thing. It's like how you help children navigate these really tough time, and it's to me, it's like I always like to give them guidance in that way through our grit, through hard work and grit. I think it's an unlost art. Kids these days are giving up so quickly. They don't understand that being in a stressful position is actually teaching them something. They are.
That's how you grow. Yeah.
It really is how you grow. People have pushed on in the culture that being in a stressful or being in a difficult position
stress is not okay. Good for you, right?
Not okay. It's not good for you.
Problems are bad. No, problems. Yeah. That's what gives you satisfaction, right? If there's a problem and you can resolve the problem, then you feel the satisfaction.
Correct.
That you resolve the problem and then you grow. You learn something from that as well. And even if you didn't resolve the problem, if you attempted and you couldn't, you still learn something from that. So definitely, problems are not a bad thing, and challenges are good things for everyone, especially for children.
That's right. There's a very misunderstanding, and it's been pushed heavily into the culture that challenges and are not. I remember you see it's kind of been in a trend, to trend that, I don't feel comfortable, I'm not comfortable, that the word, like, I'm not comfortable. It's like, it's been so lightly used, instead of like really looking at what the true, it's just been very lightly used. And I feel like people have for a long time, as I said, struggle and tense and stress as thing as that is a problem, and you should not have to be here. They should be okay with things, and we should be more like.
I think it depends on the source of your stress, right? If the stress comes from difficulty, then you're ready to give up. It's too hard. I'm too stressed about it. That's one type of stress. If there's stress, if some, from some negativity from other people, then maybe for children, it's important to reach out to adults. And, it depends on the stress too. We can just say stress is good. It depends on the source of this stress.
It depends on the source of stress, but I also how to explain that? I think people find ways to not the word is adapt, but to learn something out of it. How to explain that? Because I don't want people to misquote me and say he thinks you can bully it. It's okay. It's not. That's what
exactly.
I'm saying.
That's what I wanted to clarify. That's not what we mean. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the stress related to achieving some difficult goals, right? Or it's too stressful, I can't do it. It's okay, you don't have to. It's all right. No. You have to push work on you. I think discipline is the key too. I think that this is something that is lacking nowadays.
Sometimes also as well, there is something that you learn, because I understood, I have been in the position of Ballet, where people don't like you and they just want to give you a hell of a time all the time. I've been in this situation and I understand that, but I also understood he made me stronger as a personality. I was able to, learn from that. And these lessons also place me in the future in a position where, I was again about to get into the same position about bully, but yet I was able to handle this differently. And
that's a good point. Very good point. Yes.
It's an experience, right? And so you live this, and you can be so cocoon all the time.
Exactly. You can't just protect your children from those situations. This is the real world.
And nature, the world is cruel on its own. It's like this. It's got a cool thing. We happen to be humans and understand a bit how to be social and how to behave and have humility and empathy for one and another. But in this rough stage, the world is cruel, and you have this lesson to learn. I do believe though that the people are mostly kind. Most people are kind, and the world is good. There's some bad people, but again, there are reasons why they're this way. There's something happened in their lives that it also can be corrected. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is that. And that's what I'm saying. It's I think we are, humans are understand how to be socialize and empathy and all these things. But like again, like the normal stage of like our planet is that it just always goes within, you know, the shortest win, etc. So like there is, what I'm trying to say is not like it's cruel and that's how it is. It's just like there is lesson to learn through that, like the way her planet is functioning. You know, you gotta learn from that because it teaches you something that you can like use for yourself. You know, not everybody is always a victim, etc. But you
and maybe
can learn.
again, if someone had to experience something like this, and like you said, they learned something from this situation, maybe they can prevent it in the future and help other people or other children.
That's right. I think, and that's pretty the point to take out of it. I think like overall, I would say it's not like, you know, we should be completely immune to stress, etc. But I think there's something out of that could be very beneficial for yourself and for others, and that the lesson to learn that can be, you know, told and said and can help in the future for things and to not perpetuate issues as well. But for that, you have to learn. You know, you can't say I love, like you need to learn an opposite to know what you want or don't want, right? You can say I don't want that. Like you understand.
Like you said, if you live in this cocoon and
yeah.
never seen anything bad in life, then you're not prepared for life. You need to be prepared. You need to understand.
Yeah,
but like you said, with social media now, children have all access to all this information, and they're using their devices all the time. And we want them to dance, right? We want them to do sports and run around and play some games. And like you said, it would make them healthier physically and mentally. And now many children spend so much time on their phones. So I think it's something that parents should do, you know, control this time their children spend on the internet. But again, then parents do the same. Then you cannot tell your children, don't do that, you're spending too much time on the internet. And then, because children learn from example, they don't learn from what you tell them. They learn something from what you say, but mostly they learn by example, by observing what their parents and people they love, especially, how they act and what they do. You know, if you pick up a book and you will sit and read, and this is what your children see, then they will go and maybe pick up a book and will read a book next to you. But if you're on the phone, that's what they want to do too.
Yeah.
And same thing with dance. Like we talk about children, but adults can go and start doing ballet. I know it's very challenging, but it's still a possibility for everyone, right?
Yeah.
In your studio, you said that you welcome people of all ages.
What I was trying to do is basically really, you know, teach them the grit and see them growing, you know, outside just simply the ballet environment and applying, you know, that grit into their own school or their own, whatever they're doing outside ballet, and see them doing well and being proud of that and finding joy in that, finding joy in doing great for themselves. It's really been my biggest reward, seeing them applying the lesson taught in ballet outside the ballet circle and be able to do great with it. It's been very kind of like my biggest reward. And when they become teenager also as well, like make them, you know, realize more too as well, because it's also a time where they're changing, where they're revisiting themselves, etc., and keep them, you know, in a positive manner and show them the bigger picture, you know, like there's more into sometimes they get stuck with small problems.
And like I already said, I will repeat myself again. You know, it's an honor for parents to have an opportunity to take their kids to your studio and for their children to learn from the best of the best.
Yeah, I feel blessed. I would say, you know, like I feel very blessed that I grew so away, but it sometimes was able to be like learning from all different experiences, maybe this traveling, world traveling, being in the United States, from France, the mix of culture. My best friend were, from different culture, Japan, like Korea, like from Israel, from like South America, Mexico, all the countries, South America, and Russian friends. I mean, I feel very blessed because I feel like really in myself, like I'm not really truly French anymore, but I'm just like my identity became all these different identity, and made me.
That's who you are. Yeah, like you said, the parents can see it not only for them to become better dancers, but it reflects on their life overall.
Yeah.
Then they go to school and they improve their grades, and but again, in regard to schools, I think we should have more ballet and different types of dance in schools, like every day, like something is very, very important. We should not prioritize only math, science, dance, physical education, music, art. Subjects are as important as math, even more important, because it helps you to be more creative, and without creativity there's not going to be progress in our society. Because when you're creative, you invent new things.
It is important. I mean, being very diverse, it just always stimulates the brain. The brain always needs to be stimulated. You never need to fall into a certain pattern, but always have something different, which is, not always within the format of what, the cell phone tells you, but like different culture and experience and energy as well, which is for another discussion. But how energy gets to be transferred, from a person, individual to another, and that you cannot get that from a cell phone. It's not how you visit, but it's like if you're somewhere, the formula of where you are in a place and time is the DNA of that moment is very specific, and you will never be able to get that for yourself.
I love this. I love what you're saying. This is very interesting. And the energy, people around you, it's a very important. The fact your life.
About this for another, like you can forever too, because this is another thing that I truly believe in. It's like energy, and it's like something that you can't, you can't reproduce. Energy transfer is super necessary, and there's big limitation when it comes to video calls, etc. But I think human interaction is very important. It's not even as a one-on-one human experience. It also has to do with everything around you. Where you are at. What's in the air. Everything. It matters in the way the energy will work. So it's just much more than just even two individuals. We have the time sometimes to always think to bring back everything towards ourselves, like we're the centers of everything, but we're not. And I think it is important to understand that we're still part of this beautiful planet. We're born from the soul of that planet.
Yeah, we're all connected.
That's right. That's what we are. We all want to feel very special. And this is where it's actually very matters in a big ways. People can describe this moment that you have outside or as a certain fun. You don't have to be in a nightclub to have the fun. You need to be somewhere very simple. With whatever that energy brings you, what your surrounding brings you, your mother or your father or sibling or someone completely that you never met before in your life. It just depends. But this energy just like channel this way and utilize a natural path to do that.
And we're talking about positive energy, but how about negative energy? How do you protect yourself from that?
But I also have another question to you. Is that why would you protect yourself from that? Maybe that negative energy teaches you how to be even more receptive to the positive energy, and they have a purpose. I just don't.
Why did I feel it? Why did I experience that? Right?
That's
why
right.
did it come to my life?
Yeah, I don't always agree with constantly thinking that positive and success is always just a way to go. Like you can't just go so far, having, like think going a certain way. You gotta balance. You gotta need a balance, and somewhat these moments are also valid and important.
If there's no problem, if there's no issue to resolve, then there's no motivation, and people are bored, and there's no purpose.
That's right. And
we feel happy, and we feel that we're helpful, right? Or we're resolving the issue, or we're helping another human being. Fulfill success.
That's right. You just need an opposite. To describe something, you need to be able to identify an opposite. There's no light without darkness. There's no, how do you can analyze and understand something if you cannot compare with something else. You always gotta balance it out in some way. Like, I feel like this is what I'm trying to say. Just
if you just came across somebody with negative energy, and you learn something from this interaction, like you said, it doesn't have to be all positive all the time. But the situation, if, for example, there's always negative energy comes in, from certain situations, from certain people in your life, some people can just cut off those relationships, avoid it and don't deal with it. But some people cannot, for example, because it happens at work, or it happens at home, like you said, if there's a bad relationship, or different situations. So people should be, I think you should take it into consideration. If the energy is bad,
long enough,
you need to make a change. Something needs to happen. If this is work, maybe you need to find another job, but don't always be on the receiving side of this negative energy, right?
Correct.
You can learn from it, but you don't want to stay in that negative situation for a long time.
I didn't want to debate so much about energy, but I feel like we're going this way. But you said something very important. You said, you don't have to be receiving that much all the time. You're right, because there's something that I truly believe as well, is that when you constantly stay and surround yourself by things, you become trendy, which is due to the belief of brain plasticity. When you are literally just receiving a certain type of content or formula or energy, you become part of it. It changes you. It changes you because the brain's completely changing at all time, and it changes you. But also as well, like, I feel like if you are here and understanding of what you're receiving at time, it is to you and you to understand what it is fast enough, and to always applying to leading yourself to a solution. And like, what I meant is that you're not always like trying to confine yourself around positivity and stuff like that. But if the negativity comes to you, you should run away like it's the plague. You just need to understand it is there, and it has its meaning and its purpose, and just handle it like with the best way possible, finding a solution and move along with what is good for you, right? And then that will solve, and you find a solution like that. What I'm trying to say is, it's like, some people that like, oh my God, stay away from negativity like this, they're running around. Like, okay, that is not going to be a feasible.
No, if you run away from that situation, you will run into the same situation until you resolve it, right?
That's right. I think what I'm trying to say is like, it's like not inflicting you with negativity to become tougher, but just understand that they come at the time, and you have the right to be able to solve these problems with a very educated, disciplined way, and focus on solution and learn from it and become stronger. And like that, you know also as well a way to process that when it happens again in a better way, a more effective way, and better way, which ultimately meets hands in hands with our problem today. Yes, we can talk, but at the end of the day, we need to find solutions, because it always, otherwise you always keep bouncing instead of like melting together.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to explain. Maybe I'm not using the right words or
No, you
adjectives
do.
to
I
explain it.
understand exactly what you're saying.
But this is what I think it's a better way to handle things in life.
The confrontation is not always bad too, because
That's right.
if everyone believed the same thing, that they're not exposed to a different point of view. So some sort of confrontation should be there. So, if everyone agrees on everything in the same room, so that is not the good room. You need to have, some disagreement. You need to hear different opinions, and then something beautiful can be born in that. I want to say that you're a dancer, you're an actor, and you have your own business, and now you're writing your book, right? You're doing so many things, but what drives you? What motivates you?
I think that, so everything that I was doing still related to dance, yes, somewhat, that common thread. And, I wanted, really early on, I felt like I was really passionate to kind of help the dance industry in the United States. Back in 2009, I created like a short, I feel like somewhat I created TikTok. It was basically called 30 Seconds of Dance. And it was basically showcasing dancers from all over the world in a 30-second format, which would show them at the best. It would be like salsa dance in Colombia, hip-hop dancers in France, break dancers, like ballet dancers here, like all over lines, and like tons of people who were all just simply loving dance, and they were a professional to the non-professional level, featuring them in their favorite music. And then we got a little trouble and ambushed by the music company that thought we were not making any profit from that. We were just simply delivering a message. But we had to stop because music were like, even though it was 30 seconds and we were using music, it was like very problematic back then. 2009, we didn't have TikTok and access to all the music library and putting music video together like this in with your cell phones. So we stopped doing this, but ultimately I always wanted to help dance, help music, help artists all over the United States. And so I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to always create content around the dance world and making things fun, in the same time. So the book is into that thread, like that pipeline.
Well, let's talk about your book. When did you get an idea to write a book, and why?
There was two ideas. One was my story that was from being in the Paris Opera, coming in the United States, and my storyline, which is very, I think, unique in some ways, that I wanted to.
Very unique, yes. And you're actually, we did mention it, you're the tallest ballet dancer in the world, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
and this is so important for so many different reasons. First of all, you opened the door for other men who think that if I'm told I have to go play basketball, right? And you opened the door of opportunities, who knows for how many people, right? That they can follow their passion and think, that's fine, he did it and I can do it too.
Yeah, it's pretty quite amazing. And to be honest with you, I feel like it's somewhat indirectly responsible for, the way a company was like made in some ways, because back early on when I was at Joffrey, the assistant artistic director of the company were Adam Skloot and Cameron Baston, which were responsible for the Joffrey Ballet. And Adam Skloot went to become the artistic director of Ballet West. And Ballet West is literally one of the tallest ballet company in the world to me. I mean, they're all giant. And I feel like in some way I influenced that in him. Adam was a really tall man, but I think he picked his people. All of these guys are like really, really tall, like 6'1", 6'2".
And it's more challenging, right? So it's more difficult to dance and you're taller.
It's way harder. It's like gymnastic, to be able to move your body as fast as, you need to be coordinated. So you have to be coordinated. You have to be quite short to be able to execute, like all these very difficult, tricky moves. And so, yeah, ballet is as well, I consider, like very gymnastics. It's kind of have its own similarity at times.
But with a lot of grace.
A lot of grace.
So beautiful.
I feel like being a tallest ballet dancer, like I was the first one of my kind. 6'6" is like never seen before. I remember auditioning for Boston Ballet for that particular reason. Back then, you didn't go on the internet, but you had a booklet telling you which company and what they wanted, the size limits, etc. And
if you don't meet their criteria, then you can't even apply. So what do you do?
But Boston Ballet had a 6'1" and plus. So plus didn't expect
plus
to at 6'6", but it was plus. So I qualified for the audition. So, and I got in. So it worked. But yeah, like coming back again, I want to rewind is that the books and all that is just simply in a line and pipeline of all dance content, and me trying to make more content about dance, content about ballet, and fun and
this is so important, yes, that you're doing it.
And accessible. That's why. So books, TV, online things.
So you're doing it all. Shoot for the stars, never stop.
Pretty much.
Like, you're already, such an amazing dancer, but it's not enough. What's next? Now I want my studio. And, you're modeling, and now you want to write your book. Like, what's next? And this is wonderful. I think it's the way it should be.
Yeah.
You always grow. You always challenge yourself, right? You were in the comfort zone probably at some point, and you start feeling, I want to try something new. I'm going to LA, right? For example, or same thing then you left France.
Exactly.
It's interesting. I think it's so important for all human beings, not to become too comfortable. Put yourself out there in those uncomfortable situations where you can grow and you can see new opportunities and experience something new, because through new opportunities you find new friends, and this is what life is about, right? About our connections, positive emotions, joy. What else brings you joy? Because life is always about, we talk about big things, but really life is about little things that bring us joy. Every day, in your everyday life, what do you like? Like a cup of coffee in the morning, or what brings you joy?
Well, as you said, it's wonderfully said. It's always, you said it, and you kind of like, you made it a point similar to mine. Is like you have to put yourself at stress in an uncomfortable position to be able to open up new doors. And that's what I was trying to say too as well. It comes in the same path. It's like sometimes not everything is easy and not everything needs to be easy. There is actually good and benefits to putting yourself in this position that are uncomfortable and sometimes very challenging, sometimes very actually like stressful. Basically, but what brings me joy is like, I think it's the creation, so I could be a part and says, well, I'm part of that world, of a world of very creative, educated people. And I feel like this is something that gives me drive, because you want to feel like you're surrounded by people who are as creative, as like intelligent and challenging. And I feel like this is something that gives me joy. Like I like to find these people, even though they are not my friend directly, but they're celebrities or billionaire, to just see what they've done and achieve. It gives me that credit, gives me that, that
everything is possible, right?
Yeah, everything is possible. Go get it. They become a symbol of to follow your dreams, and follow through with your dreams. So that's what brings me joy. It's like to have almost the impossible becoming possible.
I always promote kindness. I love kind people. I think that we need more kindness in the world. And we can do little things in life to to express your kindness, to care about other people around us, not only people we love, and people we know, but even strangers. Little, acts of kindness can make a big difference. So what does kindness mean to you?
A simple sentence that is going to resume what I think people should do. Don't do to others what you don't want to be done to you. That's it. That's, I think, a good enough formula for what I will say will define kindness.
So for you, just don't do harm. That's enough. Kind of you, right? You didn't say anything bad, and you didn't have to. That's
right. I think it will be very appropriate in our time right now. Don't do to others what you don't want to be done to you. You know what I mean? Like I think being generous in one way it's great, etc. And sometimes people are like, well, how do you describe what the things you've done? But I just think in general, like you want to be treated a certain way. You want to be smart, you want to have a good laugh, and that's it. I mean, don't do to others what you don't want to be done to you, and just then you will do all the things that you want to have, like laugh with people, maybe kind, like just treat them the way you want to be treated, Yeah, and I think that's a good in and
that's a very good, very good rule to follow for everyone. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, sometimes people think, being kind, it means helping people. But sometimes, some people don't want to be helped. Like, oh, there's an old lady, I want to help. No, I want to do it myself. And on the other side, some people who need help, they're not always comfortable ask for help. So you need to understand when it's the right time to help and who to help, and do they even want it, or would they benefit from it? It's up to them too. But be open to help.
That's right. Yeah. I always tell a lot of my friends about that. Like, sometimes some of my friends see. They see that they need constant confirmation of things, on all the time, and sometimes just like, you gotta have this kind of independent, this kind of strength in yourself to go forward and not always feel like nervous on your own, being alone. You need to be able to be comfortable, on your own. But it's a completely different subject. But yeah, he was.
Okay, we can talk about it. No, if that's what
people are like at time, they want to be helped and not help. It's not sometimes you have to be overly, helpful with others. Sometimes, again, in the stressful position, you learn something. And I think, and ultimately, people are afraid to be on their own, always afraid, to not have confirmation. So always afraid of like.
Are you talking about relationships, like just with friends or couples? What?
Yeah, relationship, absolutely. It's really major in that. People, they're scared to be alone because they feel like, they're going to see time. What does it mean to be alone? They're associated with being sad and lonely, because that's the format.
Oh, you can be with someone and you can still be lonely.
Correct. Exactly. You can be with someone and be totally miserable. So that's why people stay with someone and stay in abusive relationship, because they can't, become strong enough to say that's enough, and I'm not going to say that because there's other factor that keeps you sometimes in relationships. You might have a child.
It's not all black and white.
It's not black and white,
But generally speaking,
people have a tendency to stay because they don't know any different. And, there's strength in being by yourself. There's strength, being alone. There's strength of not knowing. And people will seek for that because that's the reassuring, formula of,
nobody will make you happy. Nobody will make you happy.
That's right.
You're responsible for your own health, for your own happiness.
That's right. So I always push, my friends and my surrounding to take risks, and encourage them like, no, this is what's going on and you need to go forward, but it's hard, you know. Only a few, you know, will move forward. A lot of them will nod and just go back to what they know, you know, and stay within.
You're going back to the same issue that people are comfortable with their old problems, more comfortable with old problems than new difficult change.
Oh yeah. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us, even to me, to myself. You know, like at some point I'm like here and I go back in the same thing. And you have to realize that you have to be comfortable to just, you know, change these behaviors and do that. And
being by yourself, it's very beneficial. First of all, you start to understand who you are as an individual, not a part of the couple. Because then you're with someone, you know, you're trying to be a little bit different, not completely yourself, right? To please another person. So we change, and it's a beautiful thing. You don't want to change completely. You don't want to change your core values, but you can adjust to another person, right? But when you're on your own, you finally realize who you are as an individual. What do you really like? It's like it's a completely different level of self-awareness. And in this situation, you can finally not just learn more about yourself, but also, you know, and I think what is very, very important, then you know yourself, then you know what you really want and who will be the best person for you, right? Because if you don't know who you are, then it's very hard to build a relationship.
That's correct. That's correct. Absolutely correct. And this is also, you know, it can be applicable in work and other things. Like you got to be able to be strong on your own. You have to understand yourself completely before, you know, you go with something else. And I think it's just a main question. It's just like, it's a mixture of like many things that make people very insecure. There's like the time, you know, aging is, we are profiled in certain ways, and we are, you know, antiquated into what, you know, it's just like, it's been repeated to us about what should be done, you know, in your life at a particular time, at a particular age. You know, how many times your parents have been pushing you, you need to be married, you need to have children, you need to do all these things, you know. And it's kind of like, it's no longer your decisions, it's just someone else's decisions. It's someone else, like who you are, it's just something else. It's an extension of something else, you know. It's not truly you, you know. I feel like expansion and improvement comes from a point where you have been the students, you have learned, you have understood every single corner of it, and then you're taking it and make it yours and moving forward with it within your own mindset, not something that is just simply a continuation of that. You take the best out of it, and then mold your own for yourself. And most of the time people just don't do that. They just simply like extend someone else's story or what it is and just replicate it and continue with it. It's not theirs.
Well, if it's a good story, maybe it makes sense to replicate. It's like they say, you know, sometimes don't try to create a look, somebody already did it. And if you see, if we talk about relationship, but look at this couple and they make it work for so many years, and what do they do right? Let's take a look and maybe you know, learn from that. But definitely you should find your own way.
Correct. You see, so even though it's something you use the best out of it, there's really bits in there, elements were really good, but you still go and make your own story out of that, you know. So it has to come with a moment where you learn, you study, you got it, you got everything of it, and then you reflect on it, and then you just switch that, take all the good parts and remove all the one that can't.
That's what happened when you become older. You become that analytical and you start to think, but you also need to remember that you have to trust your intuition. You need to remember to feel and understand how you feel, you know, not just rationalize, you know, and analyze everything. So which is a good thing too, that you understand what you want and you learn something from your previous relationships. You learn something from other people, from observing different relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, even though when you get older, you become so rational, and then you always think, you should not forget to feel and trust your intuition. Kind of combine it all, because when you're very young, it's all emotions. You don't think, okay, maybe that personality type wouldn't work for me in the long run. Maybe we have different values. Maybe we have different goals in the relation. I fell in love, right? Then we get older, then we're rationalizing everything, over-analyzing relationships. But you have to combine both, always listen to your heart.
Correct. This is how it is. It's just also as human, there's different element that plays. We're different than animal, and so we have a different system of how we live into our ecosystem than the rest of the animal. And then with this element, with what's been integrated to us, we also have an element of time, and that is basically that it works with the antiquated and sometimes make you make decisions while they're not yours, because you are constantly reminded that there is a time frame of where you have to do that. You're born and then you'll die there, and in between you have these goals and vision and desire that you have to fulfill a certain time, because this is what somewhat is truly the formula, antiquated formula of success or formula of happiness, and you just need to rush it. And people don't really realize that this is not how that works.
And I think here in the US, we don't have much of that, as far as I'm aware. I think people are more, especially here in San Francisco Bay Area, people feel free to be who they are, do what they want. There's no judgment, there's no pressure about when things, maybe in different families, I'm generalizing. So maybe just find the right place for you where people, accept you the way you are and respect your choices, your life choices. But if it comes from the family, that's a different story.
Well, it's like the pick and choose what you've learned for your lesson, and you move and deviate from that and make it your own. But everybody is. I think whatever we see in some states and some part of the world where people are really thinking outside the box, we can do a lot of philosophy.
I love it. If you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
I know exactly what I would say. I think that we all have different ways of approaching things, but I think the world desperately in need of a common goal. And the reason I see the world as an end far, right? Like, I know it sounds so crazy, but a common goal helps everybody almost streamline the thought process. Even though you have different thought of approaching it, you still have one common goal. And I feel like the world's missing this. It's missing a bigger picture. And this is why we're divided, because somehow we are, as a world, fighting as a different law. Like, somehow the old ways, we need more country, we need to have more land or more money. It's too old. There's enough out there in the world, in the universe, to understand about each other. And I feel like our goal, our stake should be bigger and should be for everyone. So we will realize that somewhat we need everybody's help. Every single person out there helps and effort to be able to realize it. And I think it would solve a lot more of our problem. And it will unite us maybe in some ways. And maybe it's a very dreamy, idealistic vision.
But what would create the common goal? Only if there's some threat to everyone, all human beings on this planet. Then we will have one goal to survive and protect ourselves. Otherwise, there's always going to be some sort of disagreement.
What about, but for some reason as well, like I think the common goal would be, as sophisticated as like, where are we in this universe? You know, where are we placed? I mean, we're here on a planet shooting each other. It's, you know, like casting stone at each other, and yet the moon is next to us. And I know space exploration may be something for a certain category, but I do think we need to understand more about each other, like, and about who we are and what role we play. Sometimes taking a distance and going far away and looking how small we are in the whole equation of the universe makes you humble. Makes you very humble. You know, where you, like, really when you realize you're just like in this whole world, like a little crumb, like, it makes you humble. And I think you like, I think someone and somehow this could be very helpful. And I don't have the goal, you know, like there, but I think you like having a common goal whose higher stake will help us out becoming and bringing unison into the world. That's my plan.
I think that we need to resolve first, like, basic problems that we have on Earth. Like, so many people are still, you know, there's hunger, there's no clean water. You know, people can't think of bigger things about the moon and Mars and universe until, you know, then they wake up in the morning and they think they need to go get clean water so they can feed their children. They can, you know, give water to their children and feed their family. I think if we had like universal basic income, you know, if at least minimum needs are met, then people will start think about arts and space travel. But until people are still focused on providing the basic you know, needs for their families, I don't think it's possible. It's just my opinion. And I love what you said, and I think it's a great idea. Definitely.
I think that I know what you're meaning, that there is actual issue in the world, which is poverty and, you know, famine and really devastating situation. I'm not saying that it will cure all the wounds that already afflicted, but I feel that
just the survival mode, the human nature. You just need to survive first before you can start thinking of anything else.
But I want to also remind everybody that in the first place, these things happen because of
Actually, now I hear you. You're right.
Some people are looking to, in their own little world, to capitalize and maximize on things. And I think poverty is really a creation of ourselves in some ways. I'm not saying that the poor people are putting themselves in the poor people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying certain individuals keep people in poverty purposely because it creates these discord. And it's also I think the goal is too big. It's also big, too large, that it will demand everybody and every resources at a high level. I feel like it would never be one country left behind. But I mean, everybody needs to be working into this, like a very high stake of a goal, not something just like, you know, like we. And I'm not. What I'm trying to say is, I don't want to be misquoted. Like I think poverty things are here, but I think there's a reason behind it. It's because the way the world is thinking today is thinking too small, and so we are only overtaking over each other because that is part of it. And I feel like poverty and things that could be resolved, but some people choose to not resolve them because there's a financial element to it that it benefits them. And I think it's because also for limited goals, limited views on what the goals to reach.
It's a lot about priorities too. Yeah, there's enough resources in the world for every human being, and we don't have that many humans on Earth, so it's enough food for everyone. It just something else is here. Something else is
There's a lot of like you know, in the world, unfortunately, like people have a really hard time to say it, but there is enough for everyone. You know, we choose to oppress and choose to control, as Christina and entity choose to do that for powerful monetary wealth and power reasons, and that's why it will be there. This is some way why nicotine.
And it all comes to, in my mind, to lack of, it's all mismanagement. And mismanagement, I think it's a part of it. It's lack of education, again, the way things are done. Maybe it doesn't even happen purposely, it just not done the right way.
And I think it's also like the culture and the structure that were in place are still holding in a certain way that is creating inequalities and in the thing. I mean, the bottom line is like everybody, in as much as, for example, I will take this as an example, even some people will hate me for taking this example, but the billionaire Elon Musk disrupting the old industry, like everybody for so long scream about like global warming, scream about these things. I mean, I've heard global warming as long as I was a child. We're talking about decades and decades and decades of just like rehashing on what we should do and doing it could have done and go forward. Yeah, this man, as much as the world hates him, has literally moved forward these things within few years. And like literally, it's an embarrassment for a lot of countries who were like,
they couldn't resolve all these issues with all their resources. And here, this immigrant came with like one luggage, right, with $1,000 in his pocket.
Exactly. My point is like it's actually possible, and you prove this man is just proving the point that it's all talk and all control and all manipulation. Because if he was able to solve this EV issue and make it fun, everybody's having Tesla, even though it's not all over the world,
and it's affecting
the point that it's possible. So what happened all these decades of like blah 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 with this powerful entity that just keep rehashing things? And I think this is where also the world needs to learn from that. You don't have to love him, but the message here is very clear. It's very clear, is that there is no limit and no obstacle. It's simply us making these obstacles. And as much as people might want to hate him, he still exactly explained the point.
I support Elon Musk for a long time, since like 2015. I respect everything he's doing. Don't have to always agree with everything he said.
It was really nice talking to you, and I would love to have maybe another one, with a different subject, with the energy.
Yes, we can think about the subjects we can discuss. No, it was wonderful.